Welcome to Storied Audio. Stephen Hale had grown used to silence, the kind that settles into your bones when you've spent too many years alone. At 26, he carried himself like someone older, someone who had learned early that the world didn't always offer soft landings. His childhood had been a storm, shouting behind thin walls, slammed doors, and the constant feeling that he was an inconvenience in his own home. So at 18 he left. No plan. No savings. Just a backpack and the stubborn belief that anything had to be better than staying. But life on his own wasn't the clean slate he'd imagined. Rent was high, jobs were scarce, and loneliness was a quiet predator. By the time he stepped into Murphy's Tavern one cold evening, he felt like a man standing at the edge of something dark. The bar was warm, lit by amber bulbs that hummed softly. A few regulars nursed drinks, and behind the counter stood a man with silver-streaked hair and kind eyes. "Evenin', son," the bartender said. "What can I get you?" "Just a beer," Stephen murmured, sliding onto a stool. The bartender poured it, then paused, studying him. "You look like you've had one heck of a week." Stephen let out a humorless breath. "You could say that." The man chuckled softly. "Name's Ray Murphy. I own the place, and I've seen that look before. Want to talk about it?" Maybe it was the warmth of the room. Maybe it was the exhaustion. But Stephen found himself opening up. About losing his apartment, about struggling to find work, about feeling like he was running out of options. Ray listened without judgment, nodding slowly. "Well," he said finally, "I can't fix everything. But I can offer you something." Stephen blinked. "What do you mean?" "I need help around here. Someone young, someone willing to learn. And I've got a small room in the back. Nothing fancy, but it's warm and there's a shower. If you want it, it's yours." Stephen stared at him, stunned. "Why would you do that for me?" Ray shrugged. "Because someone once did it for me. And because you look like a good man who just needs a break." Emotion tightened Stephen's throat. Thank you. Really?" He accepted. The room was small, barely big enough for a bed and a dresser, but to Stephen it felt like a palace. Over the next few months he threw himself into the work. Ray taught him everything. Pouring drinks, handling customers, managing inventory, even the art of listening. Stephen absorbed it all. He showed up early, stayed late, and in his spare time he fixed things, wobbly tables, peeling paint, flickering lights. Slowly the bar transformed. Word spread. Business grew. "You're the best employee I've ever had," Ray told him one night. "Didn't know how much I needed you." Stephen smiled, a real one. "Didn't know how much I needed this place." One afternoon, Stephen noticed Ray pacing behind the bar, wringing his hands. "You okay?" Stephen asked. Ray hesitated. "My daughter's coming to visit. Haven't seen her in over a year. Divorce got messy. She stayed with her mom. She's older now, 23. I'm nervous, that's all." When the door opened later that day, Stephen froze. She stepped inside with sunlight behind her, Clara Murphy with soft brown hair, curious eyes, and a presence that made the room feel suddenly brighter. "Dad," she said, rushing into Ray's arms. Stephen looked away, embarrassed by how instantly he was captivated. As they talked, Clara glanced toward the bar. "Who's that?" Ray grinned. "That's Stephen. Best thing that's happened to this place in years." That night after closing, Clara approached him. "So," she said, leaning on the counter, "you're the famous Stephen." He laughed nervously. "I don't know about famous." "Well, Dad won't stop talking about you. Says you saved the bar." "I just helped out," he said, rubbing the back of his neck. She tilted her head. "You're humble. I like that." Conversation flowed easily, surprisingly easily. She was warm, thoughtful, a little cautious, like someone who'd been hurt before and wasn't sure she could trust new beginnings. Stephen understood that feeling too well. Ray watched from across the room, smiling quietly. Clara stayed for a week. During the days she caught up with her father. In the evenings she and Stephen walked through town, sharing stories. She told him about college, about feeling torn between two parents, about her fear of letting people get close. He told her about leaving home, about loneliness, about how Ray had given him a lifeline. "You deserve good things," she said softly one night. "So do you," he replied. On her last evening, she stood with him outside the bar, eyes shining with conflict. "I don't want to leave," she whispered. "But I have to finish school." Stephen swallowed hard. "I'll be here when you come back." She hesitated, then he kissed her, gentle and certain. They kept in touch every day. Calls. Messages. Late-night conversations that stretched until dawn. When she graduated, she moved back to town. This time she didn't hold back. She let herself fall. And Stephen, who once believed he wasn't meant for love, fell right with her. They dated for years, building something steady and real. Ray watched them with pride, grateful that two people who needed healing had found each other. When Ray finally decided to retire, he called them both into the office. "I built this place from nothing," he said. "But you two, you made it better than I ever could. I want you to have it." Stephen stared at him. "Ray, we can't." "You can," Ray insisted. "And you will. This bar saved both of you. Now it's your turn to carry it forward." Clara squeezed Stephen's hand. A year later, Stephen proposed to her in the very spot where they first talked. She said yes through tears. And on the night of their engagement, as they stood behind the bar, their bar, Stephen realized something. He had walked in years ago looking for a beer and a place to think. Instead, he found a home, a father figure, a purpose, and the love of his life. Subscribe to the channel for more audio stories.